Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Monday, June 22nd. This is Gina McGuire. Currently, we will continue to see very dry and warm conditions across the Great Basin, especially Nevada and Utah, with still gusty winds across the area. And today the strongest winds may occur at times along the Sierra Front, but also over eastern Nevada and into central and southwest Utah. Also, later this week, temperatures will continue to rise, and we'll see temperatures near or above record values, especially as we move into Thursday, Friday through the weekend. And we'll also start to see a return of lightning over parts of southern, central, and western Nevada, and eventually into Idaho as we move through Friday into next weekend. Therefore, we'll likely see an increase in fire potential initially, especially after very hot and dry conditions, and we've seen pretty much dry weather for the last 2 weeks. Very dry conditions have continued, especially over the last 7 to 10 days over the western half of the Great Basin, with some showers and thunderstorms last week across Utah. However, we also saw wet weather through much of May and into early June, which over the last 30 days is still keeping values above normal with respect to precipitation in many areas of the Great Basin, with the exception of southern Nevada and parts of southwest and central Idaho. If we look at the conditions today, we have a large area of high pressure dominating the southwest, which will keep our temperatures above normal across the Great Basin. However, still the gradient between the low off the Pacific Northwest coast and the high pressure will keep breezy winds in all areas as we move through today, with decreasing winds later this week. Fire potential has been increasing, especially across parts of Nevada and into the Sierra Front, due to the very dry and warm conditions and the strong winds we saw yesterday, and this will continue to affect ongoing fires we have today and any new starts across the Great Basin, as we will continue to see some breezy winds, just not as strong as we saw on Sunday. We'll continue to see fuels rapidly dry out as we move through this week, as relative humidity remains in the single digits over much of Nevada and Utah, and into the teens over parts of southwest Wyoming and into Idaho. Again, those breezy winds are expected in most areas today, just not as strong as what we saw yesterday, with the strongest wind gusts between 25 and 35 miles per hour at times over parts of eastern Nevada and into southwest Utah. Now looking a little bit closer at Tuesday and Wednesday this week, temperatures will gradually be increasing with rapid drying of the fuels, as relative humidity still remains in the single digits over much of Nevada and into parts of Utah, and high temperatures remain 5 to 8 degrees above normal. As we move into Wednesday, the pattern changes little. However, some moisture may start to push north into parts of southeast or eastern Utah, bringing some isolated thunderstorms. However, much of the thunderstorm activity will remain further south and east, with dry conditions over the rest of the Great Basin, and continuing to see temperatures warm as we move into Wednesday, with temperatures in the mid to upper 90s in most areas of Nevada and Utah, and above 110 for southern Nevada. Looking at Thursday through the weekend, high pressure starts to dominate over the west and build further north. This will allow for increasing temperatures, especially as we move through Thursday and Friday, with highs reaching 10 to 15 degrees or more above normal across parts of the Great Basin, and we'll likely see record-breaking highs over parts of the northern half of Nevada into Utah as we move through Friday and this weekend, with highs above 100 degrees in many valley locations. This will cause a rapid drying of the fuels, where many areas will turn from yellow to brown on the 7-day significant fire potential outlook, indicating this drying of the fuels. By Friday and Saturday, we'll also see a return of thunderstorms from south to north across Nevada, especially on Friday and Saturday, and these thunderstorms will likely not produce much precipitation and produce gusty outflow winds due to the very hot temperatures and dry lower levels. Therefore, we'll likely see an increase in fire potential depending on the amount of thunderstorm coverage. However, due to how very dry the lower elevation grasses are becoming and how still very dry the larger timber fuels are, this will increase fire potential again initially Friday and Saturday, especially over parts of western and central Nevada and the Sierra Front. As we move into Sunday, this moisture pushes a little bit further north. We may start to see thunderstorms with a little bit more rainfall right along the Sierra. However, still across Nevada, any precipitation will likely be spotty through this weekend with any lightning activity. And we'll continue to monitor the coverage of the thunderstorms, as that will indicate how much of an increase in fire potential we'll see across the basin. Now looking at fuel conditions across the Great Basin, ERCs are still below the 80th percentile in most, if not all, locations, however have been rapidly increasing, and we'll likely see the ERCs push above the 80th percentile over parts of Nevada into southwest Utah as we move later this week. However, the live fuel moistures have still been very low with respect to pine and the timber areas, especially along the Sierra Front, but really all across the basin. Therefore, these very dry conditions in the larger fuels will likely be where our problem areas will be later this week with lightning after the very hot and dry conditions. Sagebrush fuel moisture across the Great Basin has been near to above normal recently, but has been rapidly decreasing due to the dry conditions, and this will continue through this weekend. Looking at the 8 to 14 day forecast taking us into the early part of July, you'll notice still well above normal temperatures across the Great Basin, however now seeing a signature for above normal precipitation, especially over parts of the Rockies, into Utah, and possibly eastern Nevada, with still less confidence in the amount of precipitation we'll see as we go into early July over parts of western Nevada and the Sierra Front. This concludes the briefing for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us, or you can follow us on Twitter. Thank you for listening.